everybody, it's Nick and Jay, and we have just completed the Grand Prix du Lac Chargagagog Manchagagog Chowbunagungumog in Thompson, Connecticut.
Yeah, there was a lot of hella sweet stuff at this one. There was the now annual Thompson bonfire.
There was Fake News Racing, a Fox News parody that finished in the top 10, narrowly missing winning Class B.
We had the Golf Cart Corvette.
We had Punisher Racing, who upgraded from their Peugeot 405 to a Porsche 928. I'm sure that'll have no problems.
Had this hella sweet science project with this 30,000 volt Frankenstein thing.
There was a super sweet Baywatch / the Hoff themed automatic Toyota Corolla.
Had the slightly more modified Tercel.
And we had the Thunderstang, which of course, Thunderbird in the front, Mustang in the back.
It's a party.
Despite all of that hella sweetness, there's a real epidemic plaguing lemons these days.
It's a serious matter.
And the problem is turbo Audis being brought to lemons, somehow sneaking through
past
the BS inspection with no penalty laps and going on to totally dominate the race. It's really a problem.
The special award was the Mini Truckin' Magazine Mini Truck of the Month Award, and we gave this one out because there were a whole bunch of little mini pickup trucks at this race. They were all doing pretty well. The one that really dominated was this Chevy S10. So, Bright Ideas Racing, they got it.
Judge's choice went to Interceptor Motorsports. You may remember this car from last year's recap. This is a Blues Brothers theme, and as we've said before, most Lemons Blues Brothers themes involve some dudes. They've painted a BMW sort of like a cop car. They got some thrift store suits. They put on some sunglasses. They're the Blues Brothers. It's like the Blues Brothers.
They do always have at least one fat guy.
Well, that's not hard to find in Lemons paddock.
Yeah.
But either way, the Blues Brothers would never drive a 325 IS.
Right.
I mean, they wouldn't be caught dead in such a thing. So these dudes, realizing that, got a 1976 Plymouth Gran Fury. This thing came in 42nd out of 100-something cars. It was a spectacular performance, well deserving of the judge's choice.
So when I got screwed and Heroic Fix, there were a ton of contenders. I mean, we wound up picking one car for each, but these guys also deserve mention.
You had the Gadget Inspectors Nissan 240 SX. These guys have been on a real blowing up streak. I don't know how many total laps they've completed in their last several races. It's not good. But they never give up. They found a sketchy dude with a sketchy engine on Craigslist. They got it, they swapped it out, and then it just never would run right, and they never got back out on track.
On the other hand, the Ultimate Warriors, which is a fantastic name, was a rookie team. They brought an Altima. That blew up in practice. They went out and found another motor, and that thing ran like a top.
Then you've got the aptly named Maximum Effort Motorsports and their mid-engine Chevette. Now, brief team history. They brought a Chevette. It was stock. It ran great. They said, you know what? Let's do a mid-engine swap.
That's too predictable and easy.
They put a 4-cylinder Subaru motor in the back of that. Hey, that actually runs pretty good. You know what it needs? More power. Then they went out and got the both theoretically and actually less reliable Subaru Flat 6, and they've had nothing but problems since. So these dudes, they swapped a motor overnight on Saturday. The second one ran for 15 minutes and then blew its guts all over.
To be fair, they have swapped so many motors that they can do this in about 20 minutes.
So they were thinking that maybe that this Subaru isn't the best solution, and using science, they have now discovered that the only possible replacement is a Porsche Boxster Flat 6. Good luck with that, guys.
You know what just happened to my father's 1998 Porsche Boxster?
Oh, man, you'll never guess.
Yeah, it's hella blowed up. It's never coming back.
And lastly, you had Dr. Volks and their TDI Volkswagen Beetle. Now, these dudes own a pretty high-end Volkswagen shop somewhere in New England. And they brought this TDI Volkswagen.
And it was gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a beautifully prepared car. And what often happens to these modern Volkswagens, they had a minor problem on Saturday. I think it involved a power steering hose. And, well, you can't get that kind of part at AutoZone. So, but hey, we've got a shop. It's hours away, but we can go there and get it. And they went there. They had one on the shelf, brand new. Oh, but that's from 4 of 98.
Yeah.
And this car is a 5 of 98.
Yeah.
And
So
therefore
totally
it's
different.
Completely different.
Yeah.
And then they parted out a customer car, and that sort of
That was from
worked.
8 of 98,
Right,
however,
and so it was
totally
a little
different.
better, but not. Anyway, that kept him out for like the entire day on Saturday.
Yeah.
We're not saying all of this to say that Dr. Volks, they're bad Volkswagen mechanics.
No,
I think they're actually really good.
I think they're as good as you can be on a modern Volkswagen.
But the moral of the story is even if you have that kind of experience, you have no hope of keeping this car running.
Exactly. To be fair, they turbocharged it up to about 400 foot-pounds of torque. That might have contributed to the problems, too. Okay, those were the honorable mentions. The team that actually won the I Got Screwed was Glue Sticks.
Yeah.
Glue Sticks has won I Got Screwed any number of times.
At least they should have.
Yeah, so this team, first they blew up their primary car, but they have their horrible Firebird in the background. They brought their horrible Firebird out. They blew up their Firebird. They said, well, we got a spare 3800 V6 GM engine in the truck. We'll pull that out. But it's from a Park Avenue, which is transverse, not this way. So they had to spend the entire weekend. They struggled, and they finally got back out with 15 minutes to go before the checkered flag. There was much applause. 2 laps later, they blew up in spectacular fashion with 10 minutes to go, and they were done.
Which brings us to the heroic fix, which went to the Deliverator and their 2JZ swapped Nissan 300ZX.
2JZ engine, no shit.
They had similar problems to the rest of these guys.
Yep.
They blew up, they got a spare motor, they put it in, that didn't work. They swapped in another one, the cylinder head from that one was bad, so they had to bring in the cylinder head from the other motor, switch it with the block, so on and so forth. And really there was a night and day difference between I Got Screwed and the heroic fix.
Right.
The I Got Screwed,
Substantive.
They finished 2 laps and then blew up.
Right.
Heroic fix, the Deliverators finished 3 laps and then the race ended.
Organizer choice was hit him with the hind. Now, this was a team, they contacted us.
Yeah.
They said, well, we've got this mini pickup and there's no bed on it. And we want to know if the cage can be made out of paper mache. You know, all these real warning signs. We said, oh, these guys are going to be trouble. We said, no, you can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do that. Figured we'd never hear from them again. Next day, we get an email. Okay, we're fixing this. We're fixing this. We're fixing this. Then we said, no, they're not. Never going to work. They showed up. Everything was fixed. They had done all of their registration right. They had all their drivers right. They did not get any black flags. It was the dream scenario of first-timers, so I had to give them something.
Index of effluency, the Lementarians, Cadillac Sedan DeVille. Now,
so good.
Backing up a second, last year's Halloween Hoopty Fest was right before the 2016 presidential election, and one of the major candidates in that election took time out of their busy campaigning schedule to come be the Grand Marshal for the Lemons race in New Hampshire. Now, Vermin Supreme narrowly did lose his bid for the White House.
It was an American tragedy.
But this idea, I think, resonated with Lemons people, so this team,
His
Lementarians,
ethos of us as Americans continues.
that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
I know what I did this time. Okay.
And it has manifested itself in a Lemons theme. The Lementarians decided to do a whole Vermin Supreme thing. The Cadillac was going to be the Vermin Supreme presidential limo.
Now, I have to say, when this car showed up, for about the first 48 hours, I didn't realize this wasn't the real Vermin Supreme. This was just some yutz in a Vermin Supreme suit. So really what was spectacular about this car, it's a giant stretch limo, and it ran great. Now, when they got it, it had been sitting under a walnut field for about 40 years. The entire engine was packed full of mouse poo and walnut shells, like inside the crankcase. They got all cleaned up. They put the motor back together. They put a big rear end in it and a 4-speed transmission by Darrell. And they just went around the track. And the thing was that on the main straight, this dude was passing fools in BMWs with his presidential Cadillac limo. It was awesome.
And tying into recurring Lemons ideas, they even went an extra mile and did a temporary Houston slab where instead of the elbow wire wheels, it had the Vermin Supreme boot sticking out.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Straight out of Bridgeport, crazy motherfucker named Mugger. I put a hole in you and your mother. What up, though? I give a though. Click clack, and you know that my gun blow. Running down on the motherfucker like that. This is Stuck up, put your head on the ice pack.
Well, race car, spelled backwards, is race car. And remember, free horsepower for all Americans.
Here's Lemons in a nutshell.